Welcome to the Yeti Den. We have an amazing podcast for you today. We are covering the Xbox Partner Showcase for March 2024, and it was released today as of the time that we're recording. So I have my good friend Jumby Jumbwa here with me, and that is Matt Gorgas. Matt, how are you doing today?
Dude, I am ready to be here. I'm so stoked for this podcast. I'm having so much fun with it, and I'm ready to talk about some cool news.
Rad. Let's give the audience a quick look into the games we've been playing. We'll actually break down these games after we do the news, but we'll just list off the games we've been playing so in case they're curious and want to hear us do a slightly deeper dive at the end of the episode. So my games are Wartales, Weird West, and Boltgun. What about you, Matt?
I'm playing right now Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So that's a new one that just came out last week, and that has been awesome. Dodging spoilers online for that. But then I've also been playing Return to Middle Earth. And if you guys don't know, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings Tolkien fan. So that's been interesting to get into with one of my good buddies online, and it's been fun. But then finally, one that I haven't got to yet, but I'm interested in talking about and hearing your thoughts on it too, is it's on PS Plus now for March. So if you guys have PS Plus, you guys should maybe think about downloading, just like me, Sifu.
Nice. I'm excited to hear more about those. So for a deeper dive on these games, we'll be talking about those at the later portion of the podcast. But our headline story is the Xbox Partner Showcase. Let me say that again. Partner Showcase. So if you guys want to dive into the games that were announced, then stay right here because we're going to go through each of the games and share our thoughts and impressions. And we'll go ahead and get started. So they simultaneously released an Xbox Wire blog post. So that's where all the information we are talking about came from today. And so they said that they just wrapped up the second Xbox Partner Preview, a broadcast that brought you new game reveals, trailers, and news from the likes of EA, Square Enix, Sega, and many more. Over the course of 30 minutes, you got brand new looks at 14 incredible games coming to Xbox and Windows from our third-party partners. So right out the gate, I don't know if you noticed this, Matt, but I noticed that 11-Bit Studios was really prolific. They had a lot of games that were a part of this. And then I also noticed that there was a big Japanese presence, which is a big deal for Xbox. They've been trying to build a better relationship with Japanese developers. And there was a really interesting interview by Dustin of Sacred Symbols with, I'm forgetting his name right now, but he is a gamer who lives in Japan. He's originally from London, but he was telling Dustin that basically Japan views Xbox as like a yesteryear console. Like if you bring up the name, people are like, oh, Xbox? Oh, I think I remember that. Oh, wow, that's really nostalgic. Yeah. So I thought that was super eye-opening, and he was just explaining how the Nintendo Switch is super dominant and like a really big deal over there because it makes it easier for people to get into like gaming. It's very family friendly. It's mobile. It's small. He was saying that, you know, the size of the PS5 is kind of not a good selling point for Japanese consumers. And then Xbox is just so not prevalent there that they're not really in the conversation. So I think Xbox reaching out to these developers and making sure that they don't get skipped over and that they're promoting these games, I think is really, really good. He did say the big thing that Xbox promotes over there is Game Pass. So yeah, with that in mind, I think you guys will be seeing a lot of 11-bit studios and some cool Japanese published or Japanese developed games. So the first one is by Bandai Namco, and it was called Unknown 9 Awakening. And this one actually looked really interesting. I don't know if you recognize the actress, but I read a comment, and I think they're right. I think this is Yennefer from The Witcher show.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I was getting that kind of vibe from her too. I didn't know if that was on purpose. I know that sometimes they use actors as models. So that makes sense. Yeah, that's so crazy.
Right. I can't believe I didn't notice that. Sometimes like the way that the YouTube stream was like rendering, it didn't look like the highest of quality. So once I saw it on YouTube after, like probably with the higher quality 4K, I was like, right. Oh yeah, that's definitely Yennefer. And she's one of my favorite parts about the Witcher show. At least the first and second season was her. So I think that's interesting. So they say that Bandai Namco and Reflector Entertainment reintroduced us to the world of Unknown 9 Awakening, giving us a fresh look at its exciting world and showing off the hero Haruna, played by Anya Chalotra. So yeah, that is her. In this exclusive gameplay reveal, you can learn more about the world of Unknown 9 and with an in-depth developer update on Xbox Wire. So what did you think of this game? It had some interesting mechanics, like stealth kind of mechanics, and turning into guards and like transporting it. Some people were saying in the comments that it had like an Assassin's Creed vibe to it. What were your thoughts?
I totally felt like you said, Assassin's Creed, but also a little bit more. Did you ever play the game Dishonored or that series?
Oh yeah.
I kind of get that vibe from it too. So it's kind of like a blend of the two. And it seems like there's some sort of cool strategy involved. So I'm definitely, my ears and eyes are peaked right now. And I'm very excited to, see where this goes. I want to see more gameplay though, right? I want to see more gameplay. And then also hear a little bit more about what narrative is taking me through this game.
Yeah, totally. The next game they showed off is called Sleight of Hand. And this one, they say, is Riff Raff Games revealed their upcoming title, Sleight of Hand, with an amazing cinematic trailer. This upcoming third-person stealth game of hard-boiled espionage action will have you infiltrate your old witch coven using a cursed deck of cards in the rain-slicked city of Taboo, where ritual magic and cursed artifacts set apart those with power from those without. I thought this looked sick. It's just a cinematic, which is kind of a bummer because it could be anything. But one thing I use cinematics for is if the world design and the art style, or even art style might be too much to judge a game from via cinematics, but maybe like the art concept, like, is there a good concept? Is it a world that looks interesting? And I would say this one had me really intrigued, as well as the description. But for me, it's kind of like, yeah, we got to wait and see what it looks like with gameplay, But what were your thoughts?
Similar to yours, not really much to add. I got to see more of it. I'm all about some stealth mechanics. The most recent stealth game I played was A Plague's Tale, which was super fun.
I really enjoyed
that series. Yeah, you definitely should check it out if you like stealth. Sometimes stealth can get a little bit dry. And so normally I do wait for reviews and more gameplay to see if it's the right kind of stealth game for me. But yeah, you kind of really hit everything I would say with that one.
Yeah, I agree with you with stealth. Like, stealth is a great thing and a bad thing. It's great when you feel like you're choosing to stealth. It's bad when it feels like the game is forcing you to stealth and it's like you're impatiently waiting to get to the next area. but you're like, oh, I gotta wait for this guy to move, and then you get detected, and like it's just so frustrating when it's done poorly and it doesn't feel like an expression of your play style, but rather it feels like a forced mechanic. I think that's when stealth becomes not a selling point.
Exactly.
So what about the Alters? This one's 11-Bit Studios. It's an upcoming emotional sci-fi game that features a unique blend of adventure, survival, and base building elements. As Jean Dolsky, you'll play as a simple worker who creates alternative versions of himself in a desperate attempt to escape from a planet where even sun rays can prove deadly. This is going to be on Game Pass, so I'll check it out for sure. But what did you think? This one was interesting.
Yeah, I totally got that whole Mass Effect, space RPG, survival vibe, which you always can't get enough of that, but you want to know if it's done right. And what seemed most interesting, and it might be a good time for it because I think people are enjoying this kind of survival-esque gameplay, is the base building component. Seemed pretty interesting. It reminded me of a game I've played in the past couple of years called Spiritfarer, I believe, where you're just adding onto your boat and building up that ship. I think that could be an interesting aspect to this game and really immerse you. So, yeah, I'm gonna probably follow you with this one, and if I end up getting Game Pass on PC, I'm gonna check this one out too, just like you.
Yeah, I took some notes while I was watching. Like, I wrote down that it's like, okay, it's a miner who survived a crash landing. I thought it looked like Death Stranding. Have you played Death Stranding yet? I've
played a little bit of Death Stranding, and it's interesting, like a TV show, like HBO or something. Has that weird post-apocalyptic dystopian, but also sci-fi vibe.
Yeah, I want to play Death Stranding really badly, and I know that you have to have a lot of patience when you play that game, so I'm like gearing up for that. But I thought the Death Stranding 2 trailer looked so sick that I was like, okay, I definitely have to play this. I think I told you that's like the game for me where I'm like, okay, that's when you need to have a PS5, or maybe it'll be a PS6 at that point, I think. But yeah, I also wrote down the pink UI was a little T-Mobile-ish for me with the graphic design. Like, it was like a really bright, strong pink, and I was like, oh man, I wonder if I like when you could change the color of UIs, and I was like, yes. Ooh, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that. Like, really aggressive UI look. Yeah. I also wrote down that one of his alternate versions looked a lot like Pedro Pascal, which was like, that's kind of cool. And he talked about something about saving my marriage, and I was like, oh, that's also really interesting. And then let's see, all the different versions of him have alternate goals and ambitions. So you're like managing different versions of yourself.
Right. That's an interesting addition to the narrative for sure.
Yeah, they all have different voice actors, or at least different accents, which I thought was also interesting. And the base management looked a lot like XCOM, which was interesting as well. So yeah, I would say this is not right up my alley, because for me, I'm not a very cerebral, abstract gamer. Like, for me, I'm more mythical, more strange, grim, fantastical, usually stuff where it's like high concept. I think of like Christopher Nolan movies, like those kinds of things don't grab me as quickly as some of the other things in here. But at the same time, I was like, if the combat's interesting, or if there even is combat, I don't know. This one is like, has me on the fence, but I'll for sure try it out, so that way I can report. But yeah, there's like some interesting elements, and then there's other parts where I'm like, I don't know if that's as fun as if I was managing a squad of characters that I really like. Like we talked about Unicorn Overlord, how I like those characters, and you want to care about them. It's like, but will I care about, so many different versions of one character? I don't know. It'll be interesting.
The games like this are like games that I need to step out of my comfort zone a little bit. Like you, I prefer fantasy, mythical, magic, sports, spell casting, swords, shield, Lord of the Rings, right? So the game that you recently just reviewed, Wartales, like totally fits the bill for me. And so games like this is definitely a little bit out of our comfort zone, but I think we gotta, like we've been talking about, take advantage of Game Pass, PS Plus, and try these out because you got to remember, even as a kid, when you try a new game, you didn't know if you were gonna like it or not. You didn't even know what kinds of games existed, and it kind of helps rekindle that magic a little bit of this video games being a whole new world and frontier. So I've been trying to break out of my shell that I've created as I grew up of this is the only kind of thing I like. And I really do enjoy PS Plus and Game Pass, what it's doing in terms of that.
Yeah. I was thinking about how these services really encourage new IPs to drop their stuff into them, because it's like, we don't know how this game is going to perform. Let's toss it. I think of Lies of P as a great example. Like, let's toss it in, or Pal World. Let's toss it into a service and just see how it does. And I think that's a really exciting thing, that there is something in the market that's encouraging people to, release their big titles. The flip side of the coin, you could say, is, well, if you don't get that deal, you're kind of taking an even bigger risk, right? So it's good that Steam exists, where people, and the Switch, where people can, try out new indies and new games as well. I've discovered a lot of new content that I wouldn't have normally played because of Steam and Switch. But it is nice. It removes that barrier for consumers where they're like, okay, I'll just try this. Let's see what it is. Like I saw Dead Island. I wasn't planning on playing Dead Island, but I was like, it dropped into Game Pass, so I would be dumb not to try it, or even games that I have physically that I haven't tried yet. It's like Tales of Arise. It's like, that's way in my backlog, but it's here right now. I'll just fire it up and see what I think,
Right.
That's kind of what has inspired me doing Let's Talk About, because those are now kind of my 5 to 6 minute short first impressions, where it's like, I tried this game for a couple hours. Here's my thoughts, because we as the consumer have so many games that we want to play. And it's like, where do you even start? So I have all this footage of games I've captured. And I'm like, let me just catch up to the games that I've tried out. And then I'll let the stuff that really intrigued me rise to the top. And that will be the stuff I continue to cover. But yeah, it's kind of stressful to keep up with all the stuff that flows into these services.
Yeah. I know. I try to not put that pressure on myself. Where like I downloaded Foamsters last week, and I ended up not being too smitten with it. Didn't mean like it's a bad game for those kind of players, but I didn't end up liking it, and I only probably play that game for a half an hour, right? So I always try to tell myself like there's no pressure to play more than you want, and that's I tell myself you just did the whole loop that you need to do with PS Plus. Download a game, see if you like it, don't like it, delete it. Download a new game, and like now you're really getting your money's worth, I think. So, kudos.
Yeah, and it brings it into the podcast, which is great too, because it's like neither of us would have tried out Foam Stars. I try to check out that kind of thing from a marketing perspective and like trailers, because I like to write to trailers when we're trying to pitch to different companies. It's like, well, let's see what the latest multiplayer game is, because they usually have the most hyped music, which is the kind of music I like to produce. So when these games come out, I'll check out the trailer, I'll check out the marketing, I'll listen to what they did for the music. But as a player, I'm a single player person. Yeah. So even I need to I realize it's like, I need to jump into those types of games more often so I can connect with how the music translates into these games, because games like Foam Stars are really big drivers for the music industry, which is an interesting facet. It's like Fortnite is a really high valued ecosystem for artists to break into. And so it's like, I need to jump into that more, and
I need to play Fortnite
and break out of my comfort zone. Yeah, break out of my comfort zone. And funny enough, I have played Fortnite Lego, and one of my favorite composers, Austin Wintory, did the music with a couple other people, and it's got a great soundtrack. And the Fortnite Lego is sick. Have you tried it?
I have not tried it, but my brother has tried it and says it's pretty fun. So is it still going on?
Is with Nate?
Or is it? Are people still playing? Okay, I need to try it.
Yeah, we need to get you in. Me and Nate will play with you. It's super fun.
Yo, the last multiplayer game I played, like shooter wise, is Halo, and I only play that sometimes. So I'm not any good, but I'm happy to join.
Lego is not. Lego is not a shooter. It's like playing Legos with your friends. You're like,
what?
You're on a map building. Yeah, you're building a base. You run into like pirates and you run into raiders while you're collecting resources. And I just have fun. Like Nate will be building a really elaborate base, and I'll just be like, dude, I'll see you in like 30 minutes. I'm going to go get some flowers and I'm going to just go get some arrows for my crossbow and just see how far I can make it on the map. Dude. And then I'll die, and then I'll like keep going and die. And I'll be like, hey, did you get those resources that I was looking for? I'm like, sorry, dude, I died like 5 times. I'll focus right now and just get what you need. But it's really good. I think you'll like it.
Gosh.
If you like Minecraft,
I don't even know what I was saying no to.
Survival. Yeah, no, totally. You'll like it. So speaking of platforms as games, Roblox announced something. It took me a while to realize what I was looking at. I was like, what is this? So for those Roblox players out there, Chucky is doing something with Griefville. I did like the trap, or not the trap. It was a breakbeat, like a house breakbeat, which is one of my favorite genres of video game and movie soundtracks, is when they have that Matrix style breakbeat, you know, like Chemical Brothers. Yeah, it's like, you know, Linkin Park is known for that.
Drum and bass.
Whatever, dude. People. Yeah, totally. So I was like, ooh, another person being drawn to that. That's a good thing. But anyways, moving on. The Sinking City 2. I thought this looked really cool. I think this was mostly a cinematic, but I know that the Sinking City 1 got really good reviews, and I think these developers had to fight to get their publishing rights back. So it's exciting to see that they're able to get this all sorted. It's like a Lovecraftian detective thing. It's a horror game. It kind of reminded me, my notes say here that let's see here. I think we skipped over one. We'll have to go back to that. But I know I said that it has like so there was a Fallout 4 vibe to it, where there was like this monster that looked like a Mirelurk coming out of the water, and there was like a sinking boat, which I call whale punk. I was like, anytime you have a harbor and monsters, I think that's just Lovecraft. But I was like, that hooked me in right away. There was like the Resident Evil, like Alan Wake flashlight moment. That was really cool. But it was actually one of those like military flashlights, which I love. Those vertical flashlights.
Yeah.
And then, there were spiders, there were zombies. I was like, I will definitely give this one a try eventually. I was scared to play it on the Switch because I think it had some bugs. And it just the first one didn't look super graphically interesting, right. But the world seemed interesting. So I think maybe if that gets like a remaster or something, that would be a good time to play the first one and then play the second one. But so that will be on my radar for sure. Had major Alan Wake vibes. The one I think we skipped over by accident was Creatures of Ava. What did you think of this one? This was like the one that kind of looked like a creature collector. It looked very like Play-Doh-esque, very vibrant. And it was like were you on the fence with it? Were you into it? What were your thoughts?
You know, when it comes to like farming games, beast catcher games, raising, I think I'm a little bit picky, or I might even be a little like biased. You know, like it's very hard for me to break out of this world when it comes to that kind of stuff. So Yeah, I mean, it catches my eye. I'm curious to seeing what's different about this. What's the incentive to play this one versus in enjoying a old favorite title right there. But yeah, it didn't really grasp me that I need to buy this game. Maybe if you're not into Pokemon, or you don't already have a Pokemon like game that you're into, this might be a nice it look chill, right? Might be a nice chill, cozy kind of game to play. So if you're into that kind of vibe, I could definitely see it worth checking out. Make sure you watch some gameplay, make sure it is that right vibe for you. But if you're gonna ask me if what kind of monster catcher game I'm gonna play, it's gonna be Pokemon. Die hard fan right here.
I love it. That reminds me, whenever we go video game hunting in LA, remind me to take you to one of my favorite places to eat, where they have Pokemon stuffies, like the one behind you. They just have them like a bunch, like next to their counter. And I was like,
yeah, I got
seeing that right there. I was like, oh, dude, we got to eat there and then go video game hunting. Stalker original trilogy. I thought this looked sick. I was feeling like this partner showcase, in a way, was sort of a response to a lot of the criticisms about AAA development being so expensive. In a way, in my head, I was interpreting a lot of these games as a return to like PlayStation 2 era gameplay of like, this is just, let's go into a fun new world with new mechanics, or just something like, not even new mechanics, but just something different. Where I think of like, I used to grow up playing, Ghost Recon, Half-Life, Delta Force, Spec Ops, Prince of Persia, The Getaway, Time Splitters, all these games where you're just like, there's like a never ending supply. Dark Alliance is one that I missed out on, but I wish I played. There was one called I think Commandos or something like that. All these games that they don't have to be like your Halos, but they could be like Quake would be a perfect example, where it's like a smaller team making something really fresh, really interesting, or more of what you love, but not groundbreaking. So when I saw this, I was like, ooh, this is really exciting that we're getting like Sinking City. We're getting this like PC kind of console port of Stalker, because I just love the idea of like that early 2000s kind of first person shooter or third person action RPG, where I think that I'm always excited whenever a game that doesn't seem like it costs, $400 million to make can have its moment too, because sometimes those are the most fun I have. Again, I think of like Lies of P. I think of Boltgun, Wartales. It's like the more that the concept of that type of game can become more mainstream, the better. Like I think Helldivers 2 is like, I want to say cost probably about, I heard an estimation that was probably $10 million a year for 8 years. So 80 million. That's still on the low end. I think Pal World probably costs like 20 to 30 million. So it's like, those are great, but that's still expensive. Like games are still expensive. But even if we come down from like 400 million down to like 10 to 50 million, and these are the games we get, I'm totally cool with that. Like as long as the game itself is really fun and immersive, that's what I care about the most. It's like a game that feels like it was made with love, and a team that was small enough that there's a personal connectivity to it, I think is really important. Right. Where, like you could see a dev panel of like 4 people and pretty much have a good understanding of how the game was made and what it felt like to make that game. I think there's something special about that. So yeah, when I saw this made me excited because, they're going to release Chernobyl for, 2024, the new installment. And I thought this was really smart to release a trilogy for those who missed it. Because I haven't played the Exodus series and I haven't played this series. And I think both are semi-inspired by a sci-fi book called something Picnic, like where there was like this 1970s or 1960s sci-fi book. Pacific Drive is another game that was inspired by it, about like guys who drive through like the Chernobyl, Russia, Ukraine kind of area and discover like abandoned alien technology, and like people go into like the danger zones to collect it. And so that's kind of what like Pacific Drive, Metro Exodus, and Chernobyl are kind of pulling from, is that kind of like, you know how so many people pull from Lord of the Rings or Dune? It's like, it's another type of IP that gets a lot of other things kind of inspired by. So I was like, oh, that could be a really cool way to, you know, re-experience this game. But have you played Stalker? I guess I was calling it Chernobyl, but that like it's actually called Stalker is the name of the series. But have you played any of these Stalker games?
I miss this series, and it definitely caught my eye. Yeah, I haven't. I would have played the crap out of this, you know, back in high school and middle school. But for some reason I missed it, and I might have to check it out now. I've been telling you, I miss shooters. I was looking into playing BioShock again, and I think this came out today. Am I wrong? Is this out now on PC?
Yeah. It's out now. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into this because I have a little bit of this shooter itch right now, but I'm picky with them. So we'll see.
Yeah. Totally. There was Monster Jam Showdown, which I'm sure my nephews would love. Persona 3 Reload Expansion Pass. This was interesting. I'd be curious what Persona fans think about this. But yeah, I still am going to have to work my way through it to even think about an expansion.
500-hour game.
Right. I know, right? But did you see the first Berserker Kazan?
Dude, that looks like a literal anime. What's going on with that one? Frame rate, though. Yeah, did you see the frame rate? That was kind of weird.
I had notes that the frame rate was a little rocky, so hopefully that gets fixed. It had like Neo vibes. I don't know if you've played those games, Neo, but it also had Darksiders vibes, and that Darksiders is exactly the type of series I'm talking about, that I want to see more developers tackling stuff like that. Very grim, heavy art style. The dragon was sick. He like stood up on two legs.
I love that.
This is the exact type of stuff that I love.
Yes. And it's almost had a little bit of that what's the demon Slayer? A little bit of Demon Slayer vibe, a little bit of Covain. And so it definitely had that Souls-like feel, but then also a little kind of like Sekiro, actually, a little bit for me. Maybe less springy in your step, more heavy and flow motion. But I really liked all of the animated blood and gore and ripping your sword through these monsters. So cool. It's just like your favorite action thriller animes. So I'm definitely interested to see him clean up the game and check it out when it comes out. So that's on my radar for sure.
Yes. Tales of Kenzara Zao. This is one, I think we might have talked about this in a previous showcase already, but this one has Critical Role attached to it, which is really interesting. This is a Metroidvania. It looks similar to the Prince of Persia Metroidvania, which I go back and forth on how I feel about 2.5D Metroidvanias versus like pixelated Metroidvanias, or even like, I kind of wish more people would find a way to do like the anime look as a Metroidvania. I think that would be sick, like a really flat, kind of like Spirit Fear. I think that's a really cool aesthetic. I'm not as intrigued by the like 3D assets inside. It's hard to nail. So I'll keep an eye on this one. What did you think? Do you play these Metroidvanias? Are you looking for new ones? Are you picky?
I mean, it's not that I'm picky. It's just gosh, Spencer, you were just saying there's so many games to try, and Metroidvania-esque games aren't number one. I really am enjoying whenever I play it, and I only play it for about 10, 15 minutes, is like Ori and the Blind Wisp. I know that's old now, but they're moving on from that. But the new game that company's making looks sick though. Anyways, but that's what I've been playing. I like Bloodstained a lot too. So I guess you're right.
Bloodstained. I've started it.
Oh, it's so you got to finish that one, Spencer. That one's really, really good. So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna pick this one up necessarily, but I think the genre is very lovable, and I think the fans of the genre are cool. So this is good on them for getting this one out for them.
What about Frostpunk 2? Have you played the first Frostpunk?
I have not played, but I hear good things. I have
it. I need to play it. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, it looks sick. Frostpunk 2 looks right up my alley. Like the first one always made me nervous that it was too heavy and grim in not the right ways, kind of like too serious, less Warhammery, but this one looks more Warhammery to me, where it's like it's playing up the grim kind of heavy atmosphere in a more comic booky way.
Yes.
Would you play Frostpunk 2 or do you play these RTS style like city management survival games?
So I really haven't delved deep into all these systems, mostly because when I play video games, it's very hard for me to catch me at the time while I'm very interested in reading a tutorial like screen and an extensive one, and then thinking about what are the implications of what the information they just told me and what can I do with that. Sometimes, or most of the time, I'm not in that mood. So it's not that I don't want to play these games. It's just like, there's a learning curve for me, and I have to pay attention for when I'm ready to engage that learning curve. And so I do see myself playing this game just like playing a Total War game, anything where there's like more of this army, city, base management. I'm very interested in getting good at those games where you got to manage an economy, because I think they're very cool and super rewarding. But yeah, I just have to find myself at a time where I'm ready to absorb the tutorial and take out a pen and paper and take notes, go to school, you know? So what about you?
Totally.
Do you play these kind of games?
Yeah. Not. I've tried Crusaders. I've tried. I mean, I'm like you. I love the concept of playing Total War games. For me, the turn-based element helps me. So anything that falls over to the kind of Unicorn Overlord, where I could play it handheld, that's where they get me. Kingdom is a great example. You could play Kingdom anywhere, and it's so solid. So have I told you about my gaming closet, where I used to have it and then I converted it into my office? But when I first got my laptop, I put it inside of a closet that I could sit in. And the idea was like to close off distractions and just focus on like computer gaming. And I need to do this again because then you could close the door to the world and just have the computer. And I was thinking like, that's where I'd want to stream these types of games, you know, where it's like, I want to play this game for 3 hours, and just really learn it and separate gaming time where it's like, all right, this is the 3 hours to just play this really deep game that I've always thought I've wanted to play, but it's not quite right if you're in a room with another person or you're on the go or you only have a little bit of time. Like it'll be where I dedicate time for like, these are the PC games that I've been wanting to dive deep into.
So cool, man.
So we have Kunitsu Gami Path of the Goddess. This game, I think, was the highlight, right?
Yes. Well, because we're both big Kingdom fans, or like tower defense, like kind of thing, that kind of strat that builds up over time, sort of like a roguelike game. Yeah, why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, Capcom delivered a detailed look at the upcoming Kunitsu Gami Path of the Goddess, a unique single-player game set in a Japanese-inspired universe. First revealed in June last year during Xbox Games Showcase 2023, this new title from Capcom will be released day one with Game Pass, as well as with Xbox Series X and S and Windows in 2024. For even more on Kunitsu Gami Path of the Goddess, watch the Capcom Highlights Day 1 broadcast here on their official site. So yeah, I thought this game looked sick. The world is so unique. It reminds me of Dragon's Dogma. It reminds me of Monster Hunter. But I feel like it's like a good middle of both of those.
Yes, I agree.
So I think it's going to be very, very cool.
I think it's going
to be like
Yeah. Dragon's Dogma. Yeah. I think it's going to be like that, but then also just have very cool, I guess a little bit like Wartales, like cool team building mechanics, and just fighting horde defense, right? I love that, and like getting a good strategy down. There's nothing more satisfying than defending from the creatures of the night, you know? Like, I love that.
Totally. Yeah, there's no better thrill than being like, all right, let's see how this goes. Let's see how we survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, 2024, the big games are Dragon's Dogma 2, this game, Overlord, Unicorn Overlord. Am I missing any others that like are like seem to be the standouts so far? Oh, no, I mean, Final Fantasy Rebirth.
Yeah. So I would say for me, it's for sure Final Fantasy Rebirth and Dragon's Dogma. Those are the two that have been on top of my radar. And now you've got me interested in Unicorn Overlord as well, as this showcase with Path of the Goddess, right? So I'm excited to try out the same ones. I feel like something new is coming, though. Don't you feel like something else is going to drop soon and you're like, whoa, we're getting that game this year? I still have that feeling tucked in the back of my pocket right there, and I think it's gonna show its face card soon. So we'll see with that.
Yeah, no, I agree, because I mean, we didn't know about Path of the, or maybe we did kind of, but it just feels sometimes when they tell you like it's for reals coming, you're like, oh, okay, I'm now, because I'm sure I've seen this at some point and just forgot about it.
Right.
But I thought this trailer really sold it really well. But yeah, that was the showcase. I think the only other thing we missed was Final Fantasy 14. Are you playing Final Fantasy 14? Will you play? Do your friends play it?
I used to play Final Fantasy 14. My brothers used to play a lot, so they got me into it, because sometimes it's hard to link up on the same game, right, with your brothers or friends. And I finally caved because I do like Final Fantasy. As an IP. So I caved and tried it out, and it's not bad if you got people to play with. And it's actually, the story can be pretty interesting the longer you play it. And it's fun to just hang out and talk to people, make friends. You meet a lot of people who, if you're, into Final Fantasy, you're probably also into manga and anime, and so you're able to have a little bit of that common ground when you play that kind of game, which is cool, or just any other JRPGs, right? So I think some servers are better than others. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of player base is going to be on Xbox, or if it's all just connected, because I think right now it's all connected with PS, PlayStation, and PC. They can all play together. So I'm assuming maybe they'll all play together, but it's going to be interesting to see the Xbox players join in with that. Or maybe it's all the PC players who are on their consoles just now playing it now. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's like an open beta, and I was like, maybe I'll try that just for fun. Who knows? But
well, if you do,
that's the showcase.
You gotta let me know, because I'll join you with my character, and we just get a month or something, you know.
That'd be awesome. I love that. So we were talking about like focusing on the headlines that we're most excited for. Because like there's always bad news in any industry. There's a ton of layoffs.
Yes.
You know, so in like last year was an amazing year for gaming, and like this year has started off so brutal. And so I'm not the type of person who wants to talk about terrible things all podcasts. And so we were like, well, let's mention some of the articles that are exciting for us, because you and I both turned to gaming to be transported and immersed into new worlds.
Yes.
And we kind of bounce off of things if it's not doing that. So in the same regard, I think like, the podcast will mostly be centered about like, what are we excited about this week that we're excited to talk about? You mentioned one that you kind of wanted to talk about, right? And that is Ghost of Tsushima's director's cut for PC. So why don't you tell us why you're excited for that?
Well, I am a huge Ghost of Tsushima fan. I've played that game multiple times all the way through. New Game Plus, the DLC. Also played a lot of the online mode, Legends mode, with friends and even independently. And for me, it's been one of the games that I always go back to. It's like my bread and butter. So to see that it's coming to PC with some additional features for the PC port is really cool. I got this. I'll tell you what's coming to it. This article from The Verge. It says Sony says that the PC port will feature unlocked frame rates. That's awesome. A variety of graphic settings and presets. That's awesome. And customizable mouse and keyboard controls. So that part right there, I think that's cool, but I would always play with a controller. And I think on the controller, if you play with the PlayStation controller, you get all the haptic feedback that you would get from a PS5. So that's really, really exciting. It's now becoming like the ultimate way to play this game. I might end up getting this for my PC eventually because I really love this game. And when I really love a game, I tend to buy the best version of it. And another really cool thing is it's fully optimized for 21:9 and 32:9 resolutions, and even supports 48:9 resolutions for triple monitor setups. This is all posted by The Verge. So that is going to be super cool to check out, especially, okay, if you have not played this game yet, this is the way to play it. Go and hop on your PC and download Ghost of Tsushima. I don't know when this is dropping though. Did you get a date with this one, Spencer?
I think I saw in May. Yeah, May 16th.
I got it.
It'll
right
be on
here.
Steam and Epic Games Store.
May 16th. Yes. So if you had never played Ghost of Tsushima, just hold out a little longer. And if you have a PC, get it on PC. Play it on PC. Do yourself a favor. It is so good. It's probably within my top 5 games of the last 15 years, if not number one. I'm going to say it, maybe number one, dude. So I'm a huge fan. Yeah. You heard
Jumby. You guys got to try out Ghost of Tsushima.
Yes.
So mine is just a concept of demos in general. Like I was kind of never interested in demos for a while. And then what was the demo that like blew my mind? It might have been Cult of the Lamb, where I was just like, oh my God, this is so nice to be able to just jump into a game, see if I like it, test it out, get early impressions. And after that, I've been kind of keeping an eye. Anytime someone says they have a demo out, I try to take that really seriously and play it, because for you and I, we love to try new games, and to remove that pressure of like, oh, I would never play half these games. Like, so it's just like to be able to try it. Sometimes they hook me in. Another great demo was Unicorn Overlord. A lot of Square Enix games have demos. There's a demo for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, especially when they can carry over your progress is so amazing. So yeah, I saw Princess Peach Showtime. I was like, I'll probably try that just because I still have yet to really buy a AAA or a first party Nintendo title by Nintendo. Like I think the closest I've gotten are the Fire Emblem games for the Switch. Yeah, for the Switch. I've because I had the Wii U. I was like, I bought the Switch because there wasn't a Steam Deck. So I was like, I need something that I could play all the stuff I've missed out on other consoles, like indie games and like Steam games and stuff, because I always had Mac for music production. And realizing now, if there was a Steam Deck, I probably would have gotten that because I played Tropical Freeze, Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers on the Wii U right before. Yes. So I was like, I'm going to just focus on all that I've missed. So I was like, oh, a Princess Peach demo. I'm really curious to see what that would play like. I don't know. I guess because it's like a late generation first party game that's new. Like, I don't think they've made a Princess Peach game like this before.
They did on the 3DS. So I think they're like doing like 3DS, a new version for the Switch, which makes sense. And I think that's smart. I think that's cool.
Yeah. So I was just like, I would totally play that just to try it and see what it's like, see if it's fun. Because I feel like people aren't very excited for it, which I think is really interesting for Nintendo fans. I would think that this would be something that they were excited for. So I was like, that's why I love demos. It's like, sometimes it hooks you into stuff you would never play. Sometimes it's like, ooh, I get to try that early before it comes out, you know? So I think I'm really excited about this new industry-wide kind of embracing of demos. And then you said you were watching Asmongold playing Dragon's Dogma 2 or watching a preview of Dragon's Dogma 2?
He was making a joke that he's one of the biggest streamers who didn't get access to or invited to play this and try out this game, a demo of it. So he was watching another gamer streamer, his stream. And or I think maybe it was a YouTube video of Dragon's Dogma. Anyway, he was explaining on the video of his experience demoing Dragon's Dogma 2, and it looked sick. Asmon was giving some good commentary on the side, make me laugh, and I'm very excited for it. I'm again huge Lord of the Rings fan, and I keep bringing up your new video Wartales, but this feels like it fits in with that vibe, and I'm all for it. And what do you tell me? Are you as hyped as I am for Dragon's Dogma 2?
No, because I'm stressed that I need to finish Dragon's Dogma 1. So I'm like, push it back. It's coming too soon. Because I've liked Dragon's Dogma 1 a lot, and I know I'll like Dragon's Dogma 2. So I'm like, I'm not gonna watch anything on it. I'm just gonna focus on Dragon's Dogma. So I'll be doing probably like a Let's Talk About Dragon's Dogma video soon, just to capture all my notes currently. Kind of like a real-time diary. It's like, here's what I have so far. So as I get closer to finishing it, I'll be more excited. I think I'm maybe like 20 hours in, 25 hours in. So it'll be interesting. So I don't want to watch this stuff because I'm like, on top of that, I need to play Elden Ring so that way I kind of know what's going on when the DLC comes out. So I have so much to play.
I need to play some Elden Ring too. I need to play some Elden Ring.
Talk about big RPGs that I haven't played yet either. There's a physical version of Baldur's Gate 3 for Xbox that has 4 discs.
4 discs. That's insane. What?
Yeah. So
are they download discs or are they?
Yeah. Because it's like it has all the content. Like that's kind of the thing that people are excited about is like when developers put the full game on the disc. It's not just like a coaster, as people call it, where it's like you're not just giving me a download license. Essentially, you're giving me the real thing. You know. So I thought that was cool. Like that's a testament to how big that game is.
Well, it's also a testament to how sure they are that people love their game and are going to buy a physical version of it, right?
Totally. Absolutely. So let's move into what we've been playing. Yeah, you mentioned Wartales. I just put out a video. Let's talk about Wartales, where I showed off my gameplay that I've been building. It's such a brutal game. I'm really kind of waiting to grab it on the Switch to do like a real playthrough, because it's such a Switch seeming game. I need to watch reviews. Switch Up does a good job of like updating on their YouTube channel, like patches, like, hey, by the way, we mentioned this game performs weird on the Switch. What's it like 6 months later? I think that's genius and really, really helpful. Maybe when I get a Steam Deck, maybe it'd even be better on a Steam Deck. I don't know. But this game I could tell would be so fun in handheld. Maybe if Xbox puts out their handheld by the end of the year, maybe I get that, and then I could play this on Game Pass. Who knows? But on console, it's so crazy, because it's like, yeah, you make it so far, and you're like, okay, I think we're ramping up power, and you're like, all right, I have a day before I got to pay my crew. Okay, I need like 50 more gold coins, and my wages will be set. Oh, here's a battle. You go into the battle, and you're like, oh, I'm killing it. And then you're like, oh, I forgot that this guy could hit multiple units, and then like someone's bleeding, and then someone's wounded, and then you like, I don't know, you make some tactical error, and then you're like, I think I'm going to lose this battle. So you retreat, and then all your guys are injured. They need armor, and you don't get paid. You don't get to loot anything. So you're like, I'm still broke. I still need 50 gold coins.
You got punished.
Yeah. Yeah, then you sleep, and then it's like, now they're all mad that you haven't paid them, and now you got to go travel across town to find some other battle to get into to try and loot. So that core element of the loop is so painful. So I'm going to make my videos, and then I'm going to like look up some build guides and see what other people are doing. Yeah. And see if I could get good at this game. So that's my Wartales experience. How's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth so far?
Oh my gosh, dude. It is so good. It's so fun to finally take these characters and you use their skills, their combat ability, the action RPG aspect. This gameplay is like, it's even better than before the first game. So I'm completely immersed every time I pick up this game and play it. I really like that there is multiple beautiful open world maps to explore, and they're just full of things to do. I really also enjoy, like I was mentioning, the combat system with synergy, and how it makes your gameplay have more flow and also feel more powerful, and also have this more of like it adds like more of this gameplay of you are controlling the unit, right? Not just your individual character at a time. You're also able to control this unit together, which makes sense if you have like a couple warriors, battling together. They're obviously going to have strategies that they perform together to get more damage. So it just totally makes sense for this world, and it totally makes sense as for a player. It totally fits, and I love every moment of it. I'm very happy with the story and the character development. I think they're honoring the original, which is huge and I think is important. But I also think they're adding enough or depth to the story where is needed for a modern AAA title. And so I'm very happy about that. I'm about 20 hours in, I think, something like that. So I'm not too far into it. Maybe 25. I might be giving myself more credit than I deserve. But I've been having a ton of fun doing all the side stuff, taking my time with the story, and really enjoying that open. It's not like super open world. It's like they have like different biomes, and each biome has its own open world. And so I like that kind of in between Assassin's Creed and the first game being kind of linear. I like that in between vibe that this game went for. So I'm very excited to continue playing that and experiencing the story, and then getting into the comment sections on some videos and talk about the spoilers then. But right now we're avoiding all spoilers and everything, so we're playing it through first. But yeah, it's been really good. Thank you for asking.
I love that. Yeah, I'm so glad you're playing it and enjoying it, and that's exciting to hear that it's nailing the open world aspect and the combat aspect and the tactical elements.
Yes,
that's really good to hear. So I'm excited. Yeah, I wanted to play Weird West. This is a game I think that came out maybe 2 years ago. I don't even, maybe even 3 years by now. Published by Devolver. And there's like all these West games. There's like Evil West. There's Weird West, and there's Hard West, and they're not related, and they're
really?
like all interest me.
I played Evil West, not Weird West.
Okay, really? Yeah, Weird West reminds me of kind of like a CRPG in the vein of like Fallout 1. And it also kind of has a Diablo feel to it. It reminds me of Hard West, which is like top down. But so far, I just wanted to try it because I missed it on Game Pass. I kept meaning to play it, and there was just so much to play. I didn't get to it. So I saw they had a demo. I was like, let me max out this demo and do a first impressions on it, because I love when there's like these weird titles that kind of go under the radar, and I'm always excited. Like, what if it's one of my favorite games and I just don't know it, you know? So I've liked it so far. It reminds me of almost like a Fallout 1 remaster, where you're in a hub world and then you leave the zone, even like Baldur's Gate 1. It's like you leave the zone and then now you're in the overworld and you travel. You can use your horse, and then it like shows you on the map moving forward, and then like an encounter happens and now you're in a new staged area. The combat is really weighty. The writing is really good. I've been listening to The Expanse audiobook, and some of the writing kind of reminds me of The Expanse. I'm like, oh, wow, that's something that they would say in that. And I love The Expanse. So if you like kind of gritty, edgy writing that's like very comic booky, I think it's really good. I can't recommend it yet because I'm only an hour in, and I want to get more experience with the combat and see if it's like a combat loop that hooks you in. Like, is it addicting? Like, are you thinking about it when you're not playing it? But so far, I'm really pleasantly surprised. And then another game that I just wanted to shout out in this was Boltgun, because it's on Game Pass, and this is one of my favorite first-person shooters. It's a boomer shooter in the style of like Quake. So cool. Yeah, if you like really cool art styles, really weighty combat, really cool music. The main menu has some of the best main menu music you'll hear. And then, it's just a really all around amazing game. It's one of my favorite games I played last year. So I want to replay it and do proper first impressions, because I just randomly, the only thing I did on it was 11 things I wish I knew after I beat it, but I didn't really like talk about the game as much as I think I could have. I more just kind of talked about what I wish I knew along the way, like tutorial and stuff like that. So people seem to really like that. So it's like, maybe I'll do what I call Game Pass download, which is like, it's like a recommendation. It's like, hey, I recommend you download this game, and I'm going to give you my impression on it. So I think that's what I'll do for Boltgun. And then you said you're playing Return to Middle Earth.
Yes. So over the weekend, one of my close friends gifted me Return to Middle Earth for PlayStation, and he also bought it himself, and we were just having a ton of fun exploring, mining, nerding out about Lord of the Rings, and exploring these mines and building and crafting. And it's a really, kind of typical survivor builder crafting type of game with the Lord of the Rings skin on it. It's nothing really new. But if you're a huge Lord of the Rings fan like I am, and you got some friends who are also big Lord of the Rings fans, and they've played video games, this could be a good way to just like hop online, spend some time with each other, play kind of like this chill-esque game with some cool action, fighting some orcs gameplay. It's not heavy on the action, but it's very heavy on the explore and explore Khazad-dûm. Like, so it's a good time, and it was a lot of fun to play that over the weekend with my friend. And yeah, I definitely recommend it for anyone who's into survival and Lord of the Rings. If you're not into either of those, you're going to have a hard time with this game. And you're better off spending your money elsewhere or just waiting for it to come to PS Plus or Game Pass. There's one last thing I wanted to touch on, though, in regards to Final Fantasy. I totally forgot, and I really wanted to make this point, is I was not expecting in the game to have a lot of mini games within the game. There's a ton of there's a new card game, and I'm not going to spoil all the mini games. I'll let you guys play those for yourself and discover them. But there's a new card game within Final Fantasy called Queen's Blood, and it's so fun. It reminds me of falling in love with Gwent with Witcher 3, or any other games that have games within themselves. And I think that is so cool. And I want more video games to have games within games that are just as fun as the game you're playing, but maybe in a completely different way. In this one, it's cards and strategy, right? You got to just look it up. Queen's Blood. So if you're interested in card games, there's a really good one in Final Fantasy Rebirth, and I've been spending a lot of time doing that too. Anyways, we can move on. I just really wanted to say that.
No, yeah, I've heard that too, and that's really exciting because I loved Gwent too. That's such a cool game. My other shout out is Hi-Fi Rush. I think I've mentioned it on one of our previous episodes, but I've been slowly making my way through it, and there was a Nine Inch Nails song in there, and I'm a big Nine Inch Nails fan. I really got reintroduced to them via Quake 1 and the documentary that I did on the soundtrack. And so, I've been a really big fan of the band ever since. And hearing them in the game was kind of a surprise. I was like, okay, when they said licensed tracks, I wasn't thinking Black Keys and Nine Inch Nails. So I was like, that's pretty cool that's in there.
Super cool.
So I think this game is getting really interesting. It kind of reminds me of Gravity Rush in the way that it feels tonally, where it's very cozy and bright and Saturday morning cartoon. And it also reminds me of River City Girls, and a similar tone to River City Girls, which I really loved as well. I'm taking my time with it. I'm not going to rush through it, but I just did want to touch on the music element of the licensed tracks. I thought that was pretty really interesting. Cool. But your last game is Sifu. Why don't you tell us your thoughts on Sifu? Is it giving you John Wick simulator vibes at all?
A little bit, but mostly I wrote that down because I really want to play that game, and I was so stoked when it came to the March PS Plus lineup. And I was playing Return to is it Return? No, it's Return to Moria. I keep calling it Return to Middle Earth, right?
Return to Moria.
It's Return to Moria. I was playing Return to Moria, and then I just see that update. Like, whoa, we're gonna get Sifu. This is crazy. I gotta put this on the download queue, because I've always followed streamers or favorite YouTubers who played this game, and they've had so much fun with it. And I love a good kung fu game like the Yakuza series. They are so cool in their own way, and you don't really see a lot of hand-to-hand combat in too many video games unless you're like playing something more like a superhero like Spider-Man or Batman. Then you're going to see more of that in Western gaming. But we're mostly using guns and swords, weapons. So it's just so cool to get like a cool kind of little bit of rhythmic, right, aspect to it of this hand-to-hand combat, and it just looks like it hits and feels so good to get good at that game. So I want to have my go at it, see how I do, and kind of become my own ninja.
I love that. So yeah, so we'll check in on this next week and see what your thoughts are.
Yes, for sure.
I'm excited. Yeah, I love when games that you've always wanted to try like appear and you're like,
yes.
Oh my god, I finally get to play this game. Yes. I'm so excited.
Also like when you're not expecting it to come out for free on PS Plus, you're like, oh, this is finally a really good game that I want to try out. That's gotten praise and good reviews as it deserves. So I'm so excited, and these are the titles that make the user, the people paying into this the PS Plus Game Pass, feel like we're getting our money's worth now. So, Sony, keep doing this. This is what we want.
Love it. Well, that's the episode for today. Thank you guys so much for listening in on our reaction to the Xbox Partner Preview. And we are, I'm sure, going to have something else to talk about next week, news related that is exciting or interesting. And so, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Matt, where can they find Jumby Jumbwa on, how do they find Jumby Jumbwa on YouTube and socials?
Just Jumby Jumbwa, JUMBYJUMBWA. Type that in onto your YouTube search or into Instagram. You'll find me there, and we'll be in touch.
Nice. Yeah, so give Jumby Jumbwa a follow, and we will see you all next time. Later. Bye.